Ever get that feeling like some mysteries, they just never get old?
Yeah, like they just stick with you.
Well, that's exactly what you're diving into today, the Flatwoods Monster.
Ooh, a classic.
Seriously. It's a case that's so strange, it still has people scratching their heads. And get this happened over 70 years ago.
Wow, 70 years. That's wild. What do we have to go on with this one?
Well, we've got a lot to unpack, actually.
Yeah.
Eyewitness accounts from the night it happened, theories. Oh, man, the theories. We're talking everything from owls to, get this, men in black.
Men in Black, huh? Okay, you've got my attention.
Yeah. And on top of all that, we'll also take a peek into how this whole thing, this one event, basically put Flatwoods, West Virginia on the map.
It's amazing how these local legends can grab hold of the public imagination, right?
Totally. But what's fascinating to me is, this wasn't just some random spooky story. This thing tapped into some real cultural anxieties of the time.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking 1952 here. Cold War paranoia was at an all-time high.
Right. Like everyone's worried about the Soviets, the atomic age. Yeah.
Don't forget about UFOs. I mean, flying saucers were all the rage. Magazines like Life were publishing articles about them left and right.
Exactly. It's like the perfect storm for a monster story to take root.
Totally. People were primed and ready to believe.
Okay, so for those who haven't heard this story, imagine this. It's 1952, small town, Flatwoods, West Virginia. Picture, a place where spooky tales are practically part of the local history,
Oh yeah, I can practically hear the banjo music.
Exactly. So now, picture this. September 12th, 1952. A group of kids, we're talking the May brothers and their friends, are out playing
Just a normal day.
when they see something unbelievable streak across the sky.
Oh, was it a bird? A plane?
Well, they thought it was a meteor, and naturally they wanted to find out where it landed.
Kids and their curiosity, right? Who can blame them?
And it's important to note, it wasn't just the kids who were curious. They went and got Kathleen May, the boy's mother, to come with them.
Oh wow, so the adults were interested too.
Oh, yeah, totally. And a National Guardsman named Eugene Lemon even tagged along.
A National Guardsman. Now that's intriguing.
Right. Oh, and we can't forget about Ricky,
Ricky. Who's Ricky?
the dog.
Ah, the family dog. I always wonder what goes through their minds in these situations.
Me too. But, even he has a part to play in this whole thing. We'll get to that, though. Anyway, this whole group heads out to this wooded area following the trail of this supposed meteor.
Makes sense. If I thought I saw a meteor crash, I'd probably go check it out too.
Right. But that's where things start to get, well, a little strange, to say the least.
I bet. So what happens? Do they find the meteor?
Not quite. I mean, they start seeing this pulsating red light.
Okay, that's a little creepy.
Right. And then there's this mist that apparently stung their eyes and noses.
What? Like a weird chemical smell or something?
Yeah, almost something out of a science fiction story. What did you say?
Totally. Okay, this is getting interesting. So was it aliens? Did they ever figure out what caused the light and the mist?
Well, the sci-fi vibes are just getting started because that's when they lay eyes on the main attraction. The whole reason we're here. The Flatwoods Monster.
Oh, here we go. All right, so what does this monster look like?
Well, lucky for us, we actually have some visual descriptions to work with. Remember that iconic sketch of the monster?
Oh yeah, the one that was supposedly lost for years.
That's the one. Turns out it was rediscovered recently, and it gives us a glimpse into how these folks imagined the creature.
That's amazing. So what did it look like according to this sketch?
We're talking, at least 10 feet tall.
Mm.
Glowing eyes, but the color descriptions, they kind of vary.
How do you mean?
Well, some say they were green, others say orange, which, I don't know about you, but that just adds to the mystery for me.
Oh, for sure. So we've got this tall, glowing-eyed figure. What about the rest of it? What did its body look like?
That's the thing. It was just as strange as the eyes. Dark, oddly shaped.
Oddly shaped, how? Like, come on, you're killing me with the suspense here.
Some folks said it looked like it was wearing some kind of metal dress.
A metal dress. Now, that's just weird, but was it actually metal or just something that looked like it?
Who knows? But hold on, because it gets weirder. We haven't even gotten to the head yet. And that's where the descriptions, they get really wild.
All right, lay it on me. What kind of head are we talking about here?
So some said it was round and red. Others said it was more elongated, even spade-shaped.
A spade-shaped head. Okay, now that's just creepy.
Right. Can you imagine seeing that in the dark?
No way! No way! I'd be running for the hills.
It's no wonder people were terrified. And to make matters worse, it reportedly started to glide towards them.
Glide. It didn't walk.
Nope. Glided. And get this, completely silently, except for this eerie hissing sound.
Okay, now you're just messing with me. Gliding, hissing, a spade-shaped head. This thing sounds like it came straight out of a nightmare.
Right. So what would you do? What happened next? Did they try to fight it off?
I don't know. I'm not sure I'd be brave enough to stick around and find out.
Well, they didn't offer it a monster-themed burger, if that's what you're thinking.
Okay, good to know. So what did they do?
So Lemon, the National Guardsman, he apparently panicked, dropped his flashlight, and they all ran for their lives.
Probably the most relatable reaction, if you ask me.
Right. You can't blame them. But the story doesn't end there.
Of course not. What happened next? Did they ever figure out what that thing was?
Did they ever figure out what it was? Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We left off with our brave group running for their lives. Did they at least get away without any, lasting trauma?
Well, about that, some of them did report feeling sick afterwards.
Oh, no, really? What kind of sick?
You know, things like nausea, sore throats, just a general feeling of yuck.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, I'd probably lose my lunch if I saw a giant monster, too. But what about Ricky? What happened to the dog?
Oh, poor Ricky. He was never quite the same after that night.
Oh, that's so sad. I hate to hear that. So, okay, we've got terrified witnesses, a traumatized dog, but did the police find anything? Any footprints, glowing slime, tire tracks, I don't know, anything?
They did actually find something interesting at the site. Strange indentations in the ground.
Indentations, like where the monster was standing.
That's what they thought, yeah. And there was this lingering metallic smell in the air. But as for the monster itself, vanished. No trace.
Of course, vanished without a trace. Classic. Okay, so we've got a group of terrified witnesses, a freaked out dog, weird smells, weird markings, and no monster.
Ah.
Sounds like we're just getting started.
Oh, we are just getting started. Because, get this, this wasn't the only time that someone claimed to have seen something strange lurking around Flatwoods.
Wait, what? Seriously? So this wasn't an isolated incident? Tell me more. Tell me more.
Okay, so a few weeks before the May family had their run-in, a woman named Audra Harper, she reported seeing something too.
Okay, what did she see?
She described this tall, dark figure bathed in this weird red light.
Hold on. So similar to what the May family described.
Eerily similar.
Okay, now we're talking. This is where my unexplained phenomena, loving heart, really starts racing. But what about that family, the Snitowskis? Their story always creeps me out.
The Snitowskis. Yeah, their encounter happened just a day after the May family sighting.
Oh, this is too good. I love it. Okay, so give me the rundown. What happened?
So, picture this. They're driving, right, near Strange Creek.
Strange Creek. Okay, already the name is not promising. Where is that?
It's about 20 miles from Flatwoods.
Okay, so not too far away. It's nighttime.
Nighttime, middle of nowhere, and their car, it just dies.
Oh, come on. That's like the beginning of every scary movie ever made.
Right, so they're stuck.
Okay, so their car breaks down in the middle of nowhere just a day after this other sighting. I'm already getting bad vibes here. What happened next?
Well, as if a car breakdown wasn't bad enough, they started to smell this overpowering sulfurous odor.
Ugh, yeah, that rotten egg smell. Classic sign that things are about to get weird. So did they see the Flatwoods Monster too?
They did see something.
Okay, what did it look like?
A tall, menacing figure, just like the others described. But this time, the creature's head was different.
Oh, come on. How is it different? Don't leave me hanging.
This one, it was more reptilian, bony, almost like skeletal, like something straight out of a creepypasta, you know?
Oh, I do. Okay, this is creepy. So what did it do? Did it, try to talk to them? Did it tap on their windows?
Well, according to the Snitowskis, this thing, it actually touched their car.
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah, and peered into the windows.
Oh, see, now, I don't know if I believe that. That's a little on the nose, don't you think?
Hey, I'm just reporting what they said, but it gets even weirder.
It gets weirder. Come on.
So this creature, it vanishes, right? Just as suddenly as it appeared. Gone.
Okay.
And their car starts right back up.
What? You're kidding me. So it was, never really broken.
It's like something straight out of the Twilight Zone, right?
Seriously. Okay. So, multiple sightings. Descriptions that are similar but different. It's no wonder this story, captured everyone's imaginations. But how do we make sense of it? Part of me wants to believe, but I don't know. Is this really possible?
It's a question a lot of people were asking back then. especially back then.
Because of, like, all the Cold War stuff we were talking about.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. This was the height of the Cold War. People were seeing Soviet spies everywhere, UFOs everywhere. It was a time of just heightened anxiety, suspicion, and that definitely played a role in how people interpreted these events.
Right. So maybe it was all just, I don't know, mass hysteria or something, like people just letting their imaginations run wild because everyone else was on edge.
Mass hysteria is a real phenomenon.
Oh, I know. But it just seems, I don't know, a little far-fetched, right?
Think about it. You have a group of people under stress, fear. They start experiencing these similar symptoms, similar beliefs.
Yeah.
Even if there's no real threat, it's a real thing.
Okay, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
But even if it was mass hysteria, like, what about the physical evidence? The indentations, the smells, even, like you said, poor Ricky's change in behavior. This thing had a lasting impact. It's not just a spooky story, right?
Oh, absolutely not. This wasn't some flash in the pan forgotten the next day. This single event, it sparked a whole cultural phenomenon. I mean, we're talking museums, festivals, even those giant monster chairs mentioned earlier.
Oh, don't forget about the Monster Burger.
Right. People travel from all over the country to see these things. It's like the Flatwoods Monster. It became this source of local pride, a symbol of the area's history, folklore.
Speaking of museums, what about the Flatwoods Monster Museum itself? What can people expect to find there?
Well, besides the monster chairs, which are definitely a must-see,
Of course.
the museum houses this whole collection of artifacts from that night, eyewitness accounts, old newspaper clippings. They even have recreations, like, of the monster itself. And the area where it was sighted, it's actually really well done.
Huh. Sounds like it's more than just a tourist trap. It's like a testament to the power of these stories, even the ones we can't fully explain.
For sure.
But let's get back to the big question here, okay? What really happened that night in Flatwoods? We've got all these eyewitness accounts. But how much can we rely on them? Memory is a fickle thing. Right?
It is. It is. Eyewitness testimony is notoriously unreliable, especially in high-stress situations like this one.
Right.
You add in the darkness, the fear, the fact that, well, most of you probably aren't expecting to see a giant monster. It's easy to see how details can get, I don't know, muddled, exaggerated over time.
Okay, yeah. So how do we separate fact from fiction? I mean, is there any way to really know what these people saw?
That's where it gets tricky. There's a scientific term for this, actually, pareidolia. It's our brain's tendency to see familiar pattern shapes, even where none exist.
Oh, so like seeing a face in the clouds.
Exactly. Or a monster in the shadows.
Or like that whole seeing Jesus on toast thing.
Yeah.
So are you saying the Flatwoods Monster was just a giant cosmic piece of toast?
Not quite, although that would be an interesting twist to this story. But you get the idea. It's possible what these witnesses saw that night was just an ordinary object.
An ordinary object, like what?
Could have been a tree stump, an owl.
Oh, right. The owl theory.
Even a weather balloon.
Yeah.
Just distorted by the darkness, by their fear, their expectations.
The owl theory is a popular one.
It is.
But I have to admit, it's always felt a little underwhelming to me.
I get it.
Like, it doesn't quite account for all of the details, does it?
You're right, it doesn't explain everything. The owl theory, it mainly focuses on the visual description of the monster. It doesn't really account for the red light, the metallic smell, those indentations, or the fact that multiple people reported feeling sick afterwards.
I don't know. It's like that saying, we see what we want to see.
Yeah.
Or I guess what we expect to see.
Yeah.
Especially with, like, all the Cold War UFO hype going on.
It definitely adds a whole other layer to things, doesn't it?
Totally. But you're right. The owl theory doesn't really explain everything. So if it wasn't a monster, and it wasn't just an owl, then what else could it have been?
Well, this is where we really dive headfirst into speculation territory. One theory, the one that always gets those conspiracy theorists going, is the Men in Black angle.
Wait, Men in Black? Like the guys in the suits with the memory-wiping neuralizers?
Hey, a lot of people believe the government might have been involved somehow, maybe even trying to cover up something bigger.
Hold on, are we talking aliens here? Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily aliens, though. Hey, anything's possible, right? But there were all these rumors about the Air Force. Like, they supposedly visited the May House after the sighting.
Seriously? The Air Force? Come
Yeah.
on, that's just creepy.
And remember those missing metal fragments I mentioned earlier?
Yeah.
Well, some people think those were pieces of, like, a downed aircraft or, I don't know, some kind of experimental tech the government didn't want getting out.
Okay, so you're saying the Flatwoods Monster was some kind of government experiment gone wrong? Or maybe, like, a cover-up for something even weirder?
I mean, it definitely makes you think, right?
Like something straight out of the X-Files. This is crazy. So where does that leave us? We've got owls, we've got mass hysteria, government cover-ups, secret technology. It's almost like the more we learn, the less we actually know.
And isn't that the beauty of it all? The Flatwoods Monster, regardless of what it actually was, it remains this captivating mystery. A story that continues to fascinate us, I mean, decades later.
I know, it's crazy. Why do you think this story, out of all the stories, why do you think this one has resonated for so long?
That's a great question. I think it reminds us that sometimes the most compelling stories are the ones we can't explain, the ones that force us to confront the unknown, to grapple with the limits of what we can really truly know about the world around us.
That's deep. I like that.
Yeah.
It makes you realize, even in our day and age, where we can just Google the answer to practically anything, there are still some things out there that just defy explanation.
Exactly.
And maybe that's not such a bad thing.
Not at all. It keeps us curious, keeps us asking questions, reminds us that the world is a much stranger and, honestly, a much more wondrous place than we often give it credit for.
I like that. Little mystery keeps things interesting, right? So for anyone listening who's ever looked up at the night sky and felt that, I don't know, shiver of wonder, that tingle of, like, what if? Remember the Flatwoods Monster? It's a reminder that some stories, they're bigger than any explanation we can come up with. And sometimes the best we can do is just embrace the unknown and keep on exploring.